What's going on, everyone? Getting ready to get into a live intro that I'm going to do for the podcast. So just want to give you guys a little quick behind the scenes look at just laying out your podcast if you're thinking about getting into it. And I like to set it up to where I record everything on GarageBand first. So I get that laid up, get all my interviews. I try to stockpile them too. I'll talk about that in the intro really quick. And then I just have an Evernote page out so I can just kind of talk through a couple bullet points and then dive into the episode. So I don't try to get too fancy with it. I like to keep it pretty simple, but let's go ahead and get into it so you can check it out. So I want to give you guys a real jewel, though, a real hack, especially if you're getting into this interview-based podcast before we get into the interview. And one is, man, get outside of your office or outside of your house or wherever box that you're inside of. Get outside of it and meet some influencers in your area. Podcasting is a great way to do that. You literally just ask people to kind of link up with you and then record the conversations. This can be done on video, this can be done on audio. Obviously, for a podcast in the lane, I like to sit in, but this can be done on multiple platforms when you're meeting up with strangers, especially people who have influence that you think have something valuable to kind of share. So you can use this as a real life way to go about connecting with people. And I did this at the Digital Marcon event. I met up with a couple of people, literally stockpiled those interviews. So I think I did like 12 guests or so, stockpiled them, and you guys heard the past couple of weeks, they've all been from the same conference I did, where I stopped working for about, a day and a half to stockpile the interviews up, and now I have a whole quarter's worth of content that I can roll out and drip out weekly. So I just want to give you guys some real life examples of what I'm up to and try to help encourage you guys to get into podcasting by any ways or by any means necessary. And so without further ado, let's get into it. And please, but before we do, jump on, subscribe, drop me an actual comment as far as about the Sales Culture Podcast or on the Joe Lemon Experiment Podcast. So drop me some notes and leave a ratings. It helps me get better found by more people. With that said, let's get to it. And that's a wrap. That's how it was done. So I did this in 2 takes. You guys saw the ugly one first, but it shouldn't take too long to really kind of get into launching out your own podcast. The intro should be pretty tight and pretty simple to kind of load up. And that's the strategy I like to deploy too. I'll load up I try to stockpile a lot of interviews in advance and then just kind of work through them and drip them out and do the editing along the way. So it's a pretty relaxed process, but having the process and having that workflow down helps out a lot. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Get to your own podcast.